Well, hello everyone and welcome back to a new Power BI session. So this time we're gonna dive into a common problem you might have faced in the past, and the idea is how can we figure out the sales of the previous day. And this is not that easy because here in my data set I have actually missing sales dates, as you can see here. So I have my order date from my orders table, which is for instance the 4th of July, the 5th of July, and so on. But then you can see that the 6th and the 7th of July, as an instance, do not contain any sales. So obviously maybe there was a weekend or a celebration day, whatever, a holiday. So there are no sales. Now, how can we actually get, in this case, for instance, starting here, the 566 in the next row here? So basically compare the total sales of the 5th with the previous value, which would be 566. So let me first show you the default option which is available in Power BI, which is, as an instance, the date add function or the previous day function. I will go with the previous day function here, but you could also try the date add. Now, if I right click on my measures table here, because here I'd like to create my measure, click on new measure, and by the way, you can also do this if you go to the modeling option, right? There's also the measure creation option. But if I take this option here, new measure, and just wait until it appears, don't need my emoji, here we go. There's the measure, can zoom in, and now let's call this previous day sales wrong, okay? Wrong, like that, is equal to. And now I want to use my calculate function. So remember, calculate allows us to change the filter context. So I could now here add an expression. I could say I want to see my total sales number. So total sales, here we go. And as a filter, I would use the previous day function, okay? So let's say previous day here, returns the previous day, and then I need to give it a date here. Now, best practice, of course, would be to refer to a dates table, but in my case, here I'd like to go with the order date. So from the orders table, the order date itself, okay? Because that would also work in this case. So here I close the parenthesis, and I close the second one for the calculate function as well. And now if I press enter, just to evaluate the formula, I can see that it obviously works. I don't get any issues here, no errors, okay. And now I can use it here, which we have created, and add it to my table in here. So I can tick this option, I click on it, and you see what we get. So here it works perfectly, because the 4th of July was actually the previous day, considering the 5th of July. So that's fine, and I get the value. However, you see that here we got a blank, because we got here the 8th of July, and the previous day would be the 7th of July. But the 7th of July is missing in the data set. So the blank value here itself is actually correct, considering the formula, because on the prior day, there were no sales. So that's totally fine. However, that's not what I wanted to accomplish at the beginning. What I want to know is what is actually the value from the previous sales day. So that is why here in my blank, for instance, I would like to see the 2,229. And here is another example from the 1,400. Oh, sorry, the 648. I don't like to see a blank. I'd like to see the value from the 12th of July. So obviously 3 days back. Now we know for a fact that we could use a date add function, and there we could be a little bit more specific. So not only say we would like to have the previous day, but maybe the day 3 days before or 7 days before. So it is more flexible, that's true, but still it is actually a hard-coded number. So that would mean maybe here if we say 3 days back, we would get the number 3,115, but that would then mess up all the other values we have. So we are not sure whether it could be 3 days, could be 2 days, could be 12 days, we don't know. So that is why we would like to do it differently. So let's figure out how we can correct this. And I already prepared this for you, so let's have a look and go through the formula together. There is this previous day sales, that's what I meant. So I click on it, and let me actually expand it so you can see the solution here. So the idea is that we create a variable. So you don't have to do that, but I prefer using a variable here, so it makes the code a little bit more clean, and also might speed up performance, depending on what kind of complex formula you build here. So I name this actual previous state here. And the idea is that we use an iterator function, which is the maxx. Remember, all the functions ending with an x are iterator functions, which means the first argument will always be a table, and then they will iterate over the table. So going row by row through this table. Now, the table we give it is a filtered table of the complete orders table. As you can see here, we want to filter all, so the complete orders table. And then we make sure that the date of the orders table is less than the selected value order date. Now, this selected value orders order date is referring to each row here in our filter context, right? So the 4th, the 5th, and so on. So we first want to figure out from the orders table itself the date, so the first date actually, which is less than the specific value. Which means, for instance, as an example, let's go back to the table. Here, for instance, the first date, which would be less than this specific date, would be the 12th one. So the 12th of July in this case. And that's how we get basically the behavior which we want to accomplish. So this is what we do here. We make sure that we filter the data that is less than the current row we are in our table. And then we want to return the date itself. That is why here we need to give it as a second argument the expression, which simply is referring to the dates column. So give us the maximum of the dates, so of all the dates we have, which are less than the specific date we have in the current row in the table. That is the idea. And then we, of course, always get the value before. And finally, of course, we want to return something. And here we simply say, please give us a total sales amount, or where the order state itself is actually this previous date which we have calculated here. And if we create the formula like that, let's actually go back inside. And let's also tick this option here just to see it in comparison. And now you see we got exactly the behavior we would expect. So of course the first entry is empty because there is no prior value. And we could filter this out if we want. But if you take a look at the other values here, we can see here we have exactly the same value. The same is true for all the ones where we really have a prior day. But where we do not have a prior day, like for instance the 8th of July here, we get exactly the 2,229, which is the value from the first day before this day, where we actually generated sales. And this is true for all the other values here as well. For instance, this one here is exactly the one from the 12th of July, and not from the 14th one, which would be empty, as you can see here. Okay, and yeah, that's how that works actually. So hopefully that was interesting to you. Hopefully you can use this in your own projects. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.